Mr. Bell is back, and today we are going to be talking about the very disappointing New York Comic Con that went on this year, over this past weekend. Let me see if I can get a different filter over this. A different overlay. Oh, you can upload different filters. I didn't know that. That is an interesting one. I'm gonna go with this one today. So, New York Comic Con happened, and I did a video on the Super Mario Brothers trailer, and I was okay with it. Like I said, my opinion hasn't changed too much since that reaction video. I think that it's going to be a fine movie. I think that it's not going to break down any barriers or be groundbreaking in any way, but I think that it looks like maybe the best Mario production outside of video games ever done. With Chris Pratt, I agree with the people who are very negative on him, but I feel like people wouldn't be as negative if, hello, basket case. I don't think people would have been as negative on him had this movie come out like 30 years ago or 20 years ago, because originally Mario's voice was a bit more closer to just the New York Brooklyn accent. He used to sound much more American. Then we had years and years and years of the exaggerated Italian accent, and so people are used to that, and so that's why it's so jarring to hear Chris Pratt's voice and how distinct that is. And it's just Chris Pratt, and that's what we're getting in the movie. So it is interesting about how people like, now I'm blanking on his name, Jack Black, how people were negative on all of the castings for the movie. I really want to hear what Anya Taylor-Joy sounds like as Peach, because I love that actress. It's really, I think that people have really been won over on the movie, and it's kind of amazing. And Jack Black sounds good as, or the general consensus seems to be that Pete Bowser, Jack Black is actually really good casting. So I don't know if Chris Pratt might actually, it's going to make a ton of money. People are going to take their kids to see that movie because it is very on brand for Mario. And then people are going to be curious about Chris Pratt, and they're going to talk about it. All publicity is good publicity. But I think that might damage the reputation of the movie because it just doesn't sound good. Must see TV. Thank you, Ryan Lynn. So we got two people coming in. This is a little bit of a weird scheduling because I found out a lot of people who watch me are from the UK, from different places in the world. So I don't know if 6 o'clock is going to work so much. And to be fair, it's on me. I didn't promote this live stream. I can't even talk today. I wasn't promoting this live stream as much. So this weekend, we were actually supposed to do a live stream on horror movies. But then my two guests couldn't make it, so we pushed it off. Probably I'm wanting to do that on the 21st. So this is just, it's not going to be just me doing live streams. I'm going to have other people on. But for now, I just have to talk about the NYCC. And so I already did my reaction on Mario. And just since we got 6 people on right now, overview, my opinion really hasn't changed on Mario. I think that it's going to make a ton of money because it's very on brand for the franchise. But I'm wondering, and Chris Pratt is going to make that movie money just because people are going to be curious about it. But I'm wondering if his voice performance is going to taint the movie in any way, like looking back at it. But I'm curious about it, and I'm going to go see it because it's piqued my curiosity if this Mario movie can actually work out. And we're going to get into why NYCC was disappointing in a minute. What I appreciated a lot about the Mario trailer was Illumination's kind of known for being very childish and having a lot of toilet humor, and I at least appreciated that the trailer did not go there. So we've talked about Mario. Now I want to talk about why NYCC was disappointing. Well, the reason why is, apart from the Mario trailer, we really didn't get anything whatsoever. There were no other movie trailers that I know of. I guess we got Star Trek Picard stuff. I don't care about any of the Discovery not this is Star Trek Discovery, the new Paramount Plus Star Trek stuff, even though I'm able to go on Paramount Plus, and it's not a bad streaming service actually. But I'm just not interested in their Star Trek stuff. That's the only trailer I think we got. Then we got some comic book stuff, and so let's get into talking about that. So it was kind of slow. We got some new information on Superman. Classic Harley, get on, I made it. Thank you very much for watching. I know I was just saying that I realize a lot of you are in the UK and places like that, and I'm kind of trying to figure out, I'm 6 o'clock over here, and I like doing it like this, but I can't really figure out what's a good time for everybody. Anyway, we're getting on to the comic book stuff now, and so first we got some information on Superman, and I'm more a casual Superman fan. I'm not super invested in what's going on with him. I enjoy the 90s animated show, and I've watched some of Smallville and stuff like that. I'm just very casual on Superman. I'm not super invested in what happens to him. I do appreciate that I see them bringing back like more traditional Superman stuff and having Action Comics give like a slot to various different characters like Power Girl. And in terms of the John Kent series being canceled, it was inevitable, but we're going to talk about this in a minute, how whenever a comic gets canceled that they want to be successful, they'll try to mask it with like either a reboot or a miniseries or something like that. And so we have a John Kent miniseries, and I just don't care for it. It's just not made for me. So the Superman stuff, I'm not really invested in that, but it seemed like that was the biggest announcement. They did an announcement of this event that's like Lazarus something or other. I've even forgotten the name at this point. And I wasn't very interested in this event because it looks like there's just a bunch of random characters like Monkey Prince and Poison Ivy's going to be on. I really hope, because I've been giving such high praise to the G. Willow Wilson Poison Ivy series, that I really hope she doesn't become a hero again. It looks like maybe an anti-hero, which is okay. And I guess that they're putting her in more stuff now because her series is successful, but they could end up going back on what made that series successful. And for me, I was just kind of like, another event, really? I'm just not interested in another event. A cat has come to visit me. Hello. Anyway, this is the cat. Everybody see the cat. Anyway, I'm babysitting a cat right now, so that's why she's here. Anyway, so not really interested in the Superman stuff. It's just not for me. And then the Lazarus Pit stuff didn't interest me. And I thought we were done with DC Comics announcements, because usually, I guess this is more so with SDCC, Sunday is just kind of leftover stuff, and there's not really anything big happening. So, but then they did their Gotham City stuff, and I was like, oh no. And it was interesting. We got basically nothing from it. We don't know what's going to happen next. I guess there's a new artist coming on Batman or something like that. We don't really know where any of the characters are going. We didn't hear anything about the 100th issue of Nightwing. All we got was that there's going to be, I had a gut feeling there is going to be some Harley news. I knew it. And we got this very weird thing where it's going to be a miniseries, a 6-issue miniseries written by Frank Thierry, called Multiversus Harley Screws Up the DC Universe. And it makes zero sense to me. For number one, this is obviously a ripoff of Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe. And I thought we were behind like the explicit Harley Quinn is Deadpool stuff. Like, it's still there, but we kind of had muted it a bit. I felt that when Stephanie Phillips began on her run, like I was compromising with that when it started. I'm like, okay, this has some things I can compromise about the character as a fan. And then we left that. But I really felt like we had muted the character a lot from her Deadpool days. And it's ridiculous, because it's not only ridiculous because you're going back to something that's not working, but you're bringing on Frank Thierry. And let me tell you, nobody has ever liked Frank Thierry's work with the character. He co-wrote a 6-issue miniseries with Jimmy Palmiotti. I think he might have helped co-write some of the main issues, but this mini series that he did, Gang of Harleys, was universally the most disliked mini series of that entire series. The mainstream series, including fans who like Jimmy Palmiotti. They do not like Frank Thierry's work. He filled in for him for some months. It was the shortest run on the character yet, I think. I'd have to double check my facts on that, but I recall it being the shortest run on the character ever, where he was just filling in until Sam Humphries took over, and nobody liked it. It wasn't funny. It wasn't entertaining. And then he did this mini series called Old Lady Harley, and it was the lowest selling Harley Quinn mini series of modern times. The lowest selling. No one remembers it. Nobody bought it. No one cared for it. He wanted a sequel to that book, but he never got it. So why would you be taking Frank Thierry, of all people, and giving him a mini series in a time when Harley's not selling? My only theory, and this is what is so frustrating with DC Comics, is it's like there's this idea in their heads that they are one day going to recapitalize on or recapture the success that they had with the Jimmy Palmiotti New 52 series. That if we just do that enough with different writers who try to capture that, then one day we will be as successful as we once were. And that is not going to happen. That was a fad. It is not a style of humor. It appeals, Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Connor's humor appeals to a small group of people, but not one where you can take that to the mainstream and get it to last a long time. They are never going to be successful with that formula again. They haven't been, whether it's Frank Thierry, Sam Humphries, Stephanie Phillips, whoever, who keeps doing that. They keep commissioning writers or hiring writers and now recycling writers to bring about that formula, and it's not working. But I honestly believe, and I was feeling this with the 30th anniversary when Amanda Connor did the main cover for that series, that I think DC Comics would bring back Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Connor to write the main Harley series if they could afford them. I don't think that they can afford them right now, which is why we're getting Frank Thierry, who is Jimmy Palmiotti light. Adam Frey says, so Donny Cates did a Marvel series a few years ago called Cosmic Ghost Rider Destroys Marvel History, which is exactly what it sounds like. The Thierry comic sounds like it's conceptually repetitive. Well, it is. And they're just creatively bankrupt, and now they're just repeating ideas. But like I said, I get the feeling that DC's only motive, if we were to put a motive on them right now with Harley, is that they will one day recapture the success that they had with Harley's New 52 series, and that this is what people want, and that no matter what happens, they always have to treat her like this at base because that's who she is to them, which breaks my heart. But and so I think that the only reason we're getting Frank Thierry is because they can't afford or get a hold of Jimmy Palmiotti. Amanda Connor is even going to be doing some of the covers for this series. So hello, my friend, what's going on tonight? Well, nothing much. I'm just doing this live stream. By the way, I did unlist my Margot Robbie video, and I will explain why in a minute. But let's just finish up this topic before we move on to the Marvel stuff. So, and thank you guys all for coming on. I always appreciate it. And sometimes I have a little bit of a hard time keeping it up and talking, but it's pretty good so far, this live stream. Anyway, so what breaks my heart about DC is I got this really scary thought that no matter how low Harley's sales get, that they're always going to go back to the Jimmy Palmiotti version because in their minds, that's who she is now. And that's who she always has to be, no matter how the ebb and flow of comics are. And I think that that's what we're seeing now. And they just don't seem to have it in their minds that they should go back to anything else, even though they never capitalize on the original version of the character. They've always been trying to force her into her own solo series, which she was never meant to work in. And if you read old interviews, then you'll hear that there were editors at DC that never even wanted Harley to enter comics in the first place. So that's just unfortunate. And it's like they're asleep at the wheel right now. I don't really see anything that I'm looking forward to, especially like the idea that maybe we're going to see Poison Ivy become a little bit more heroic or anti-heroic, when that's the exact opposite of the reason why I've been enjoying her series. And so it's like, it's like, why hold on to this stuff? Like, you need to have a miraculous event happen in order for anything to change. And that's really frustrating. maybe we'll talk about this a bit in a minute. Okay, so the reason why I unlisted the video on Margot Robbie is I noticed something in the video. I said I might do it because of the sound, but that ultimately was not the reason. So I thought when I first watched I thought when I first watched that interview with Margot Robbie, when she heard the word superhero stuff, her face kind of fell. Like there was a big frown that she was bright, she was putting on a good face, and then she put on a big frown. And I thought that maybe that's just me, reading into it, and I saw other people noting that. And so I realized, all this drama, all of this drama that's been going on with the comic book stuff and Harley and superhero stuff, it's probably getting to Margot Robbie as well. And some of that, honestly, is kind of on her for making Birds of Prey. But obviously, there was some drama even before that. She had been getting death threats from people when she first started playing Harley. I know that she probably, a lot of the reason why Harley took the direction she did is Margot Robbie did not like the stuff that they were doing with it, that David Ayer was doing with the Joker. So I just figured, you know what? She's probably, even though she puts on a good face for it, she's probably gone through a lot of turmoil herself over this stuff. So I'm like, I'm just going to leave her alone. I'm just going to leave it alone. My followers saw the video, and then I'm like, okay, they saw it, and I'm going to unlist it now because I don't want this channel to just be me being negative on anything. And I don't want to be like a buzzard surrounding a person, even though I really, really dislike a lot of the choices they made. But I thought it's best just to leave it alone. So that's why I ended up unlisting that video for anyone's information. Classic Harley says, I'd say get Paul Dini back, but he's been corrupted by the Harley shippers and is just going around basically apologizing for his Harley Quinn being with the Joker. Yes, that's what I've experienced with him. He seems a bit tired, even in his other work, like with Ultimate Spider-Man. He's not up to standard that he once was. I don't find his work on Harley to be as good enough. Even when he did something like, I gave a pretty negative review back in the day to Harley Loves Joker, but even that had him like apologizing for the character, even though his fan base loved his original work. And that's why I'm not really into him doing the character now, even though, to be fair, anything that Paul Dini would do would be a million times better than what we might get for Teenie Howard or Frank Thierry. But here's the one thing that was kind of interesting with NYCC. We didn't get any new information on the Teenie Howard Harley run. That was really weird because they announced it when they were announcing the little miniature like food truck event Harley was going to have for NYCC. And we didn't get much information about it. It was very vague. And then we didn't get any additional information about it at NYCC. That was very odd to me. I let myself hope for a split second that maybe that means that because everyone was so vocal about hating Teenie Howard on the book, that maybe they wouldn't go forward with it. And it has happened before. There was going to be a Brian Azzarello mainstream Birds of Prey series starring Harley Quinn. It was going to come out. No, not a lot of people remember this, but the backlash was so universal on everything that they canceled that series. They just they took the work that he did do and they made it into a one-shot. And which, by the way, whatever Brian Azzarello is like in real life, he actually writes a pretty good Harley. And not in his Joker one shot he did, but in a lot of the work he did, he seems like he skews more towards older ideas. So I would have actually liked a series done by him, but not a Birds of Prey series. So it's happened before that when fans were vocal enough, they went back on a series entirely. They went back on that series entirely, and we didn't get that Birds of Prey ongoing. So I was wondering, is it going to happen with Teenie Howard where they just quietly end that series? They never announced that Brian Azzarello's book was canceled. They just sort of quietly put it off and canceled it. I would hope that would happen with Teenie Howard, but I'm not sure because we didn't get much information of anything happening in the future. So it could just be that they just dropped the ball with NYCC and they decided not to announce anything new. Not on the DC side anyway. Okay, so we've talked about DC Comics at NYCC. Let's talk about Marvel. Stephanie Phillips is going away from DC Comics to Marvel Comics, where she is going to do a Rogue and Gambit series. And this is very ironic because I've done such battles with Stephanie Phillips' Harley Quinn run. I guarantee I have read more of that run than anybody else ever has. I had to read all 6 issues in a row, week after week, of that condensed weekly series. And I just got this is interesting because Stephanie Phillips was saying in just this summer that she has no plans to leave Harley for quite a while. She was very positive on it. The buzzards started circling, noting how bad the sales were. I started writing some pretty scathing reviews. She kept getting really because of that, and because of Weird Science's reviews, the score for the comic started going on exponentially. So I was saying, I sense this in her comics. She in her writing, she doesn't really want to do this book anymore. And she started talking about it less and less. She hasn't said a word about her leaving the book. She hasn't said a word about anything that's coming up. She's just stopped talking about it altogether. So it's like she doesn't want to do this anymore. They probably booted her off the book because of sales. Makes no sense to me why they would do Teenie Howard still. But now she's getting a Rogue and Gambit series. And that is ironic to me because Rogue is my favorite X-Men of all time. And Rogue and Gambit is my favorite couples. And I'm like, is Stephanie Phillips going to do any better on them? I don't really think so. I'd like to think that she could because I think that there's something there with her writing. I just think that DC has people's hands tied behind their back with Harley. And there's not really much that they can do with her. So it is funny to me that I have not read a Marvel comic since the very first X-Men issue of Jonathan Hickman's Krakoa run. That was the very last Marvel comic that I ever read or ever bought. And so I'm not really invested in what happens with Marvel, and I don't really care what goes on. But it is interesting that Rogue and Gambit seem to be the only Marvel or even DC Comics couple of the traditional ones that they give any fan service to. And they've given a lot of fan service with them getting married and them getting their own series together, multiple series at this point. So it just seems a little funny to me. And I don't know what the deal is, why they split up Peter Parker and MJ for the millionth trillionth time. And none of our other classic characters are really together, except I think Superman and Lois. I don't really know what's going on in that book. I guess I thought Superman had disappeared for a while and now they're bringing him back. But I just don't really understand. I welcome it, but I don't know why Rogue and Gambit are the one couple that they're giving fan service to of the classic couples that we enjoy. I really have no guesses about that, but I didn't really like. I think it was Kelly Thompson that did the Mr. and Mrs. X series. I think I looked at a few pages of that, but ultimately didn't buy it. I heard it wasn't actually very good, and I didn't expect it to be. It seemed a bit too forced. Like you can give fan service, but you have to have a good story behind it. So as much as I like Rogue and Gambit together, I don't really trust any of these new writers to do a good story from it. I do really like the cover, but it's like I don't know if Stephanie Phillips can be good on the book. And then we got Teenie Howard on yet another Marvel book. We got her on what was it? I think she's doing the Betsy Braddock book, but she's got another Marvel series she's doing. So to review, as of now, Teenie Howard has Catwoman, Punchline, Harley, and a Marvel book all to herself. That is crazy. I don't know why they keep giving her work like that when no one likes what she's doing. So any thoughts on if Rogue and Gambit is going to be any good, if why Teenie Howard keeps getting work, any of that stuff? Why this series from Frank Thierry doing Harley is even happening in the first place? Love to hear your thoughts on it. Let's see. $18 people watching now. Thank you all for coming. So to review, we have talked about the Mario trailer and how my opinions haven't really changed on that movie. By the way, I think we're only at Batman News. We're only reviewing like one issue of Punchline. Yeah, I don't know why the Punchline series exists. I think that's just kind of a last gasp for air. DC just and Marvel, they keep greenlighting books that nobody wants to read, and I don't understand it. We talked about DC Comics, how there were barely any new news apart from Superman, how DC Comics mistreatment of Harley just continues and continues and continues, and I don't understand it whatsoever. And we've talked about these weird Marvel books where we have Stephanie Phillips now on Rogue and Gambit, and we have Teenie Howard on a Betsy Braddock series. In all honesty, I said the truth when I said the last Marvel comic I actually bought was X-Men #1, the Krakua stuff. And that was it. And the last trade I ever bought was Spider-Man Life Story by Chip Zadarski, and which is actually pretty good. I enjoyed the series a lot. Honestly, I've said this before, if I wasn't doing my Batman News reviews, then I would not be reading any modern comics whatsoever right now. And in fact, I probably would be taking a break from reading older stuff because it's not getting any better. And it's like, especially you have to understand, I got off of Marvel a long time ago. I got into DC because of Harley. If she dies, then I'm out. That's essentially it. But I am looking forward to Deadly Duo. We did get a couple new pages for that. I'm a bit nervous about how that's gonna turn out. But I don't know if I'm reviewing it yet. I'll have to see. I really hope if I do, I'll probably get that series in a week or so. So I really hope that I'm reviewing that book, but I have to see. So this is a good midpoint to start answering some questions. I'm going to answer this one over here first, since it came up in the chat. So Kamen Rider 64 says, are there any actors you lost respect for? It's hard to say because there's so many actors that I admire, but that eventually I'll just hear something behind the scenes that's unacceptable. Christian Bale is one of my favorite actors as an actor of all time. He is so excellent in all that he does, from Batman to Patrick Bateman to what's it called, The Prestige, which I recently watched, to even Thor: Love and Thunder. Christian Bale, to even Little Women. I bet a lot of people don't even know he did that movie. He is so excellent. And he's the real deal of an actor who can immerse himself in so many different roles. And I just love watching him and getting inspired by him for my acting, but not a good person in real life. And the reason that's on my mind is the David O. Russell stuff. David O. Russell is an awful human being. He groped his own relative and admitted to it, but did not face charges. He has screamed out and mistreated actresses as Amy Adams and Lily Tomlin. And Christian Bale, well, let me get back into it. I'm sorry, somebody interrupted me. So anyway, so there's this awful guy, David O. Russell, and Christian Bale had stepped in to stop him from chewing out Amy Adams, and he was like, oh, I thought it was the right thing to do and all that. But then he goes back and works for the guy as one of the leads in Amsterdam, a movie which I'm very glad is bombing right now. Critics are lambasting it and no one wants to see it. But it's like he's such a talented actor and such a big inspiration to other people who want to be actors and who are working as actors. But, that's just, he's not a great guy in real life, and that's unfortunate. So Christian Bale, I can't say that I can't really say that I lost respect in him, though, because I never really thought that he was a great guy in real life. So I can't say I lost it. Who's another person? It just happens so often that you maybe admire somebody and then they just turn out not to be as great as you thought they were. Margot Robbie, actually, since I was talking about her, and on this, she does deserve to have something said about it. She has a lot of people who admire her, and she's not as mainstream as other actors, but she has a lot of people who like her because they think she has a very charming personality and that she really cares about her work as a feminist. But then she also worked with David O. Russell. She made Promising Young Woman, a movie that is all about criticizing people who turn a blind eye to rape and sexual abuse, and then she turns a blind eye to sexual abuse to work with David O. Russell. And I can't say it, like, I lost respect for her. I actually used to like Margot Robbie, and then I lost respect for her with Birds of Prey. Margot Robbie, recently, this David O. Russell stuff shows she doesn't even practice what she preaches, which should have been obvious. But how about Alec Baldwin? Well, I never had respect for that actor, and I never even liked him as an actor. Like, it was already known even before he shot someone that he chewed out his daughter. He verbally abused his daughter. He's been a bad guy all this time, and he keeps getting work. There is an actor who I lost respect in. Jeffrey Wright. I really liked Jeffrey Wright's work. He was Beetee in The Hunger Games: Catching Fire. He was the voice of the Watcher in Marvel's What If. Not a good series overall, but he did good voice work. And then he was my favorite Commissioner Gordon. Now he's on a movie with Alec Baldwin. It's like, you guys, it shouldn't be hard not to work with a murderer. And maybe Jeffrey Wright is one of those actors. He's not as big as others, so he still seems to be at a point where he has to take jobs, he has to be getting his paychecks. But it's like, if you were to say no to any role, it probably should be one with Alec Baldwin. And I don't even understand that, because it's like, wouldn't you feel unsafe around someone like Alec Baldwin after something like that happened? There better not be any guns around the set. So let's get to some other questions. Let me pull them up right here. Let's see. Got to go to my community posts. Okay, I do have some questions here. First question from Vigilante Reviews. Do you think Chip Zadarski will continue to be the writer on Batman After Dawn of DCEU? I personally hope he will be. I think he will be because I haven't heard. He's just kind of, Classic Harley, I'm sorry, I got off track. I do have respect for Mel Gibson. He actually has called out a lot of the things wrong with Hollywood, so I really respect Mel Gibson. Do you think Chip Zadarski will continue to be the writer on Batman, though? I think so, because I haven't heard great things about the run, and I haven't read any of it myself, but he's been non-controversial, and on that level, I think that they're just going to stick with the non-controversial writer, and if Batman is selling well, and that's what they're going to do. So I don't think that they're going to leave him. Classic Carly asks, how do you feel about doing reactions to shows and movies? And clarified that she was meaning, I'm assuming it's a her, but if I'm wrong, tell me. In terms of doing reactions, I actually, because you might have noticed on my channel, I've been doing a lot of soul searching, if you will, on what I want this channel to be. And I have a list of videos that I'm going to do and who I want to be on this channel. And a lot of them are reactions to movies and shows. And I'm really excited about doing them. There is one in particular about a Batman animated series episode. I'm not sure when it's going to get out. Excuse me. Not sure when it's going to get out, but I think that you guys are really going to enjoy that. In terms of taking requests to do movies and TV shows, right now I don't want to, because I'm just kind of figuring out where I want to be with this channel. And it's hard enough for me to get these videos out as it is, so I don't want to have the responsibility of, I'm a guy, and this is the part where I get offended. I assume differently, but okay, that's all cleared up right now, and we're all fixed. So you are a guy. I'm sorry about that. Anyway, what I was saying was, I don't want to do requested reactions right now, because it's hard enough for me to do all the editing and get out these other videos. But and the other thing for me, Chip Zadarski, non-controversial. I'm sorry. I will get to your guys' comments in a second. The other thing for me is sometimes I get concerned if I was to do a reaction video, if someone was to request that and I had an obligation, like if they, when I eventually get to set up a Patreon, if they asked me to do something and I had to do it and it was a movie I didn't feel comfortable with watching, I don't want to have to do that. And that's why I don't want to take any reaction requests. So let me, Chip Zdarsky, non-controversial, wasn't a big hullabaloo about him writing Bruce and Bi as Bi. I forgot about that. I just meant his mainstream run, not the one he did that was like Batman the Night, where that was the bisexual thing. I meant his mainstream run. So I don't see a reason why they're going to let him go right now. So yes. So we have some more questions. Do you only read DC or do you branch out into Marvel or independent books? So I got into comics for DC and Marvel. I have read one graphic novel or two apart from DC and Marvel, but those were mainstream successful graphic novels. I've been considering reading webtoons, but it's really hard to get me to read things. I'm about watching things. So I don't really do indie comics. So I don't read any indie comics like that. Which this is a good time to get to the other question. What do you think of the indie comic Isom? I have not read that comic. I did not buy it. Right now I don't, I haven't been a part of any of the campaigns because I'm just not interested in the indie books. And right now I don't have any money for that. So the only thing that I thought might be interested about me reviewing Isom is I'm not an Eric July super fan and I'm not an Eric July hater either. So I think that it might be interested if I did a review for Isom, if someone let me borrow a comic, because I would give a very non-biased review of that, because I feel like when with a comic like Isom, it's either going to be the fans of Eric July who want to support his business just praising the heck out of it, or it's going to be his haters intentionally finding things to dislike about it. So that would be interesting to do a review from my perspective. I'm so sorry my lighting is so bad in here right now. But otherwise, I'm good. If people enjoy it, they enjoy it. But I'm not a person who needs to branch out and read indie comics. Let's go on. How do you feel about manga? I actually haven't read any manga. I tried to get into anime and it was like, I'm sure I could get into it, but I didn't really know how to start. It's a very different medium, very different sensibilities of what they put in their anime. I have watched I've watched anime, of course, but I'm not an anime super fan, but I know people who are. And based on that, I haven't gotten into manga. I'm sure one of these days it'll happen and I'll start watching more anime and reading more manga. But it is not this day. Okay, let's see. If you bring the cat back, I'll forgive the lighting. Well, I can actually do that because she is asleep. Right here. There she is. Her name's Bunny. She's asleep. She's my sister's cat, and we're taking care of her right now. She's sleeping. Watch Death Note. I actually started some of Full Metal Alchemist because that sounded interesting, but I didn't get very far. And I also have a little bit of a problem where I think I like watching things sub, but it's easier. It's complicated because when you watch things sub, then you're getting to hear the actual voices and the tones of the characters as it was intended. But it's easier. It's easier to just hear the dub because then you're just hearing it in real time. Don't have to do any reading. Can pay attention to the screen. But then you oftentimes get really bad performances. So that's a little bit frustrating for me. So let me make sure I don't have any more questions. Yeah, I don't think it's interesting because I think now that Elon Musk is taking over Twitter, we're seeing some of the bots disappear, just some of them, and things like I forgot to bring this up with Comic-Con, but Harley's just been having a horrible time. All they did for her 30th anniversary is create a really, really bad comic everyone hated. They gave a food truck to give out egg sandwiches, and they announced a Frank Thierry miniseries, and they they announced this Valentine's Day special with her the Not Harley show. And I want to say I didn't mean to discourage anybody by bringing that up. I think if I hadn't brought it up, no one would have known about it, because when the news came out that they were doing that special, like, it did not create any buzz whatsoever. The original post that came out for it on Twitter only got 82 likes. That is ridiculously low for a special. And it's like, no one's really caring about this show, are they? That's why I don't believe them when I know this is anecdotal, but I don't believe them when they show the show is popular, because I'm not really seeing anything. I'm not really seeing that. I don't see people who are really enjoying that show or care about that special. But I really didn't mean to discourage anybody with that, because it's like that was always going to happen. There are lesser known adult animated shows on HBO Max that have also gotten specials, so I wouldn't worry about it. I think that it's just them padding out in between seasons. And the showrunners have flipped all over the place, from saying that they think they're confident the show is going to continue, to saying that they have no idea how long it could last because they've run out of ideas. They've said that they have no idea if it's going to get axed the next day because of the turmoil that went on, that they felt during the big David Zaslav axing. So I didn't mean to discourage anybody with that, but it is disappointing to me. I wouldn't be giving up on this stuff. Just know that this stuff isn't selling and it's not actually making money. So somebody asked me thoughts on Amber Heard and Ezra Miller. What I think about that is that it's funny how on Twitter, when Elon Musk was first going to buy it, everything was pro Johnny Depp. When Elon Musk pulled out of the deal, everything became pro Amber Heard. Now that Elon Musk is coming back, I'm seeing pro Johnny Depp stuff again. So I'm done with it. It's like we won. Amber Heard lost the trial. Unfortunately, that stuff is going to carry with him for the rest of his life. But I think people who are holding on to it tend to be these various Boston shills who are just obsessed with Amber Heard. And it's like, let's move on from it. As for Ezra Miller, it's weird because they made up this apology from him, which I don't buy at all. I don't even know if he actually said it, and then he just kind of disappeared. So I think that when the Flash gets closer, then we'll fear more controversy. I don't think that we're going to see him in the marketing for the Flash at all. They're just going to say, he's off fixing himself with his mental health. I don't think that they're going to want to bring any more attention to that with the movie. I don't think he should work again because he's convicted or suspicious of so many crimes. Okay, anything else? I guess, I'm looking forward to Deadly Duo, and I'm also kind of want to read that Paul Dano comic because I want to read that Paul Dano comic because I think that actors have a lot of good insight into the characters that they play, and so Paul Dano talking about there could really be good. Let's see some. I think Amber Heard was the victim. I don't believe, ever since I heard that audio of her saying that he's admitting to abusing Johnny Depp, then I was against her. And if you watch the trial like I did, Amber Heard is putting on a show that entire time. I don't think Johnny Depp is a good person, but Amber Heard is the one who defamed him, and she deserved what she got. How do you survive on Twitter? That site is so obnoxious. I don't know. Right now, the only reason I'm on there is just for the news, because I do get news about movies and trailers very quickly on there, and for networking. That's the only reason I have Twitter. Let's see. I have not heard of the YouTube channel Turk Yards. Have you dipped into the comics from the 70s, 80s, and 90s? I've read comics from all times. The older stuff is when you get the really good stuff. It's the newer stuff that's terrible. So I'm starting to lose my voice again. So I think that we can only go a little bit longer. I've gone for 45 minutes. So I think that that's going to be pretty good. Thank you guys all for tuning in. Do you guys have any more questions? So any more questions about it? Tomorrow I'm going to be working on my short film, The Quackening, a comedy short film. Can't wait to upload it. Can't wait for you guys to see it. Hello, BPRD Comics. I'm actually just wrapping up, but you guys can go back and watch the whole stream and what I talk about. So I'm editing my next short film. I'm probably going to write another horror story to make into a short film. I have one more thing to say about comics, but I'll get to it in a minute. I'm going to do a reaction, sort of review/reaction to a Batman episode, and I'm going to talk about an obscure indie horror movie series, and we are going to do a horror movie live stream, hopefully on the 21st. So lots of exciting things coming up. By the way, I did read, do you watch Casually Comics? Yes, I do. I like her. I don't agree with everything. Like she's very casual about it. She likes what she likes, but I agree with a lot of her opinions on the characters. She's very casual about her love for comics, but she also knows a lot. So I do like her. Are you reading Batman Beyond the White Knight? I am right now because I have to for my job at Batman News. Ever thought of doing a Harley Quinn short film? I used to be able to do an impression of her, so I might brush up on that. But as of now, I'm working on my original stuff. My thing is I'm a filmmaker and an actor, and that's what I want to continue with. So you're going to see more videos on that, especially getting up my TikTok. I did read one Harley Quinn comic I liked, kind of. It's in the DC Terrors Through Time series that I read a little bit of for a review, and so I'll let you guys know when that comes out. But anyway, any more thoughts? Ever thought about getting into voice acting? I'd love to do voice acting. I'm technically a professional actor now because I just got paid for a role, so I do acting. I can act. I hope I act okay. Yeah, I'd love to do voice acting. Thoughts of potatoes? What's your favorite way to eat them? I only like them mashed, really, or sometimes fried. Okay, I think that we've gotten enough for tonight. My voice is really leaving me. Thank you guys all for coming on the stream. I'll have more videos this week, and I will see you guys next time.